Thank you so much, Michal. I so appreciate your introduction and words of condolence to Rabbi Mark. And also thank you so much for the dedication today. Thank you. So as you can probably see, I'm joining you today from my sukkah. I'm outdoors, and I see some of you are joining us from your sukkah as well, which is lovely and welcome. And because today I would like our meditation to really focus on the sensory experience, if you would like to open a window, if you're not in your sukkah, not outdoors, but if you'd like to open a window just to bring some of the outdoors in, I invite you to do that right now. I'll just say a few words on what inspired me this morning about Sukkot. I find Sukkot, I think Sukkot is probably my favorite of the Jewish holidays. I love being outdoors. I love being one with nature. And I love the themes of Sukkot, which are all about unification, really reminding us that the duality nature that we reside in most of our lives is only one aspect of our lives, and that there's a different kind of experience, a transcendent kind of experience that can unify the world for us in ways that really requires settling down and sitting in silence and being open to the experience. I love the way in which Sukkot brings so many things together, right? So we invite our ancestors into the sukkah. We also invite guests, contemporary guests. We bring together different species, right, with the lulav and the etrog. We bring together the different senses of the body by smelling the etrog and shaking the lulav and listening for that sound. And it's really a time of bringing together those things that we may focus on in disparate pieces. And one of the things that we do on Sukkot is reciting the Hallel prayer. I am looking at my Siddur, which is a Koran Siddur, which was translated and edited and has some commentary from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. And I want to read just a little bit of the Hallel Psalms, the Hallel prayers that we say during this time, in which it's really a conversation about idols. This is from Psalm 115. It says, idols, these idols, they have mouths, but they cannot speak. They have eyes, but they cannot see. They have ears, but they cannot hear, noses, but they cannot smell. They have hands that cannot feel, feet, but they cannot walk. No sound comes from their throat. Those who make them become like them. So will all who trust in them. And in a way, Sukkot is the antithesis to that experience, right? So we're actually practicing, or we're doing the dance. We are listening, we're smelling, we're coming together, we're eating, we're talking, we're singing, we're praising, and all of that is done in defiance of idolatry. And Rabbi Sachs, in his commentary on this verse, on those who make them become like them, those who make idols become like those idols, he says, worshiping impersonal objects or forces eventually dehumanizes a culture and those who are part of it. Whether what is worshipped is an icon, a ruler, a race, or a political ideology, the final outcome is the sacrifice of human lives on the altar of high ideals, high and imperfect ideals. Idolatry is the worship of the part instead of the whole, one aspect of the universe in place of the creator of everything, of all, who transcends all. So I invite you in our meditation today to really come to a place of bringing the sensory experience together. I will lead a guided meditation on getting in touch with our senses, with all of the senses of the body. And if you find my voice superfluous or unhelpful, you can just simply put it to the background and ignore it. And if you'd like to come on this journey of exploration of the senses, please join my voice, join my guidance. I invite you to let your body sit upright in a relaxed posture with graciousness and gratitude. This is a time for praise and gratitude. So we offer that gratitude to ourselves for this gift that we're taking, this gift that we're giving ourselves of time outside of time. I invite you to keep your eyes open. We'll begin by exploring the sense of sight. And, before we even begin with the sense of sight, why don't we take several long, deep breaths, perhaps 2 or 3, getting in touch with the center of the body, with the emet, the truth of this moment. You might notice as you breathe in and exhale any tension you're carrying, any tension you're holding. And invite the body to let go of the to-do list, to let go of rehashing past conversations, and simply arrive in this moment of breathing, feeling into the aliveness of the body through the breath, inviting the body to simply rest right here. You might invite your face, allow your face to be soft, noticing if it's possible to unfurl the eyebrows, to soften the muscles around the eyes, and really allowing for the gaze to be soft as you orient yourself in your makom, in your sacred space. And look around, taking in the quality of light, not focusing on anything in particular, but simply orienting yourself in the space that you find yourself in. Noticing the quality of color, whether it is saturated or dim. Noticing the variety of color all around you. I also invite you to not only look at the objects in your space, but also find the spaces between those objects. Feeling into the spaciousness, the possibility of spaciousness wherever you are. If you have a window before you, you might train your eye to simply look at the sky. Or if you're outdoors, give yourself the permission to look up. You might also notice the quality of shadows, not just light and color, but shadow and darkness. And now I invite you, when you feel ready, to close your eyes. To close your eyes and notice the quality of light entering your eyelids. Bringing some gentle, loving awareness to the face and noticing if it is possible to lift the lips in a smile. This is Zman Simchatenu, a time of joy. And even if you don't feel like it, notice what happens when you lift the corners of your mouth gently, inviting a sense of pleasure and joy into this moment. And now shifting, guiding your awareness, your kind witnessing awareness to the physical presence of the body, the sense of touch. You might feel the weight of the body and the points of contact between the body and the seat below you. Perhaps feeling all four corners of your feet flat on the earth beneath you. Feeling into the sensation of feet stable on ground that isn't moving. Allowing for the body to rest in the embrace of the seat below you. In this moment, you are safe. Feeling the touch of clothing against skin, perhaps of hair against skin. Perhaps the sensation of movement of air against skin. Feeling the sensation of the body breathing itself as the chest rises and falls, as the belly relaxes and contracts. Noticing the position of your hands. How do you know your hands are there when you cannot see them? Perhaps the warmth of touch, hands against thighs. Gently shifting your awareness to your sense of smell. Allowing yourself to take a deep breath and notice the smells in your environment. Perhaps the remnants of coffee made this morning. Or if you open the window, something that a neighbor is making for lunch. Perhaps there is a flower blooming nearby or leaves that have fallen off a tree and are now decomposing on the earth. Noticing the different aromas in the atmosphere. Perhaps there's no smell at all, just sitting with the absence of smell. Gently, I invite you to bring your awareness with a light touch to the center of the head between the ears. Allowing for sound to reach the spiral innards of the ear. Without reaching, without much effort, simply allowing for the ears to open to the sense of hearing, noticing sounds that are far away or nearby. Noticing sounds that you didn't notice before. Perhaps there are birds outside your window. or the swoosh of trees in the wind. Noticing the quality of sounds, but also the quality of silences that punctuate sounds. Allowing for the ears to simply bathe in the symphony of sound all around you. Resting gentle awareness between the ears. Now shifting your loving awareness with a light touch to the mouth. Noticing if it is possible to rest the muscles around your lips, to relax the tongue at its root, and simply and gently bring awareness to the sense of taste, the quality of taste. Perhaps it is toothpaste from this morning or that cup of tea. Whatever it may be. Not getting caught up in the thoughts about the taste or the storyline, but simply feeling into the aliveness, the sensory aliveness in the mouth. And what do you notice? We spend so much of our time not noticing our senses. What surprises you? Gently notice the breath, the aliveness of the body. Notice how, just like waves of the ocean, breath comes and goes. Our senses, here now, gone a moment later. And so our thoughts, transient in nature, impermanent. And each time a thought arises, notice if it is possible to simply let it go. Returning back to breath and back to the body as one whole. We'll sit in silence for the next few minutes, remaining open and welcoming, like the structure of the sukkah, to the sensations of the body, unified, present, and whole. I invite you to open your eyes once more and simply reorient yourself in the space, in your makom, in your sacred space. And once again, take in the quality of light and shadow, color and objects, and the spaces between objects, noticing if it is possible to remain open to the spaces between things. Once you have reoriented yourself to your makom, I invite you to come back to our shared communal space on Zoom. Thank you very much.
Marita, thank you so much. That was beautiful. A traditional way of honoring those we have lost is to recite Kaddish in their memory. It's a way of leading the community in prayer and in praise, and in that way extending their influence in the world. Early on in the pandemic, we started reciting the Mourner's Kaddish after the daily sit when so many synagogues closed, and this became a way online of gathering a community and enabling people to recite the Mourner's Kaddish. So we're going to do that at this time, and I invite anyone who is actually saying Kaddish today to stand and join me in doing so. And also, if you wish, to put the name of the person in the chat. Yitgadal,
Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shunei
Amen.
Ve'alma, Divra, Hirte, Ve'amli, Mahute, B'chayekun, U'v'mekun, U'dekayed Kol Beit Yisrael, Baragalav, B'zman Kariv, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba
Barak
Le'olam,
U'Amaya
Yitbarach,
Yishtabach
Yitbar,
Yitmam
Nase,
Gadar
Vitalam, Shemei Kusha,
Rechu
Le'olam
Le'elam
Mikol
Mikol
Birchata, Tu Shakata V'Nekamata,
Damiran
Da'amiran, Di'amru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Chayim Ali Yakul V'Imru,
Amen.
Ose Shalom B'Rama, Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael, Amen.
Shalom Bimromav Huya, say Shalom, Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael, El Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru, Amen.
Amen. Amen. Hang on, I got muted again. Thank you so much, everyone. For those who are leaving now, I wish you good health and shalom, and hope that you continue to support the Sukkot holiday. Enjoy Moadim LaSimcha, and we hope we'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks again, Adi, for supporting the sit, and thank you so much again, Julie, for supporting the sit in memory of your brother Donnie. I hope that his neshama finds peace and rest as he so richly deserves. Those of you who would are welcome to stay on here and ask Marita some questions about today's sit or the meditation on Sukkot. And I am gonna start us off by asking you, Marita, with such a beautiful and interesting idea how you linked idolatry to shutting down the senses and serving God is really awakening life in all our experience. And I'm curious if you have any tips for people, like, you know, when we can't indulge in that beautiful guided meditation, how do you suggest people in their practice try to keep that going every day?
Yeah. I think the practice of living in the body is such a beautiful practice. I think, so much of our lives we spent in the sort of the square space of our forehead and disassociate and disconnect from our body. And in fact, I brought a poem, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to share just a few verses from it. I brought a poem that touches on that particular question.
Please.
And I came across it recently. It was written by John Rodell, and it's a long poem, so I'm not going to read the entire thing for, just to honor everyone's time. But I'll tell you that the background is I think the title of the poem is "How Do We Live in Our Bodies?" And he says, my heart and my mind are going through a divorce, and I'm stuck between my heart and my mind. And his gut is where he goes for therapy. So it's metaphor, it's cute, it's sweet. And I did share it with Adi, so there's a link to it if you want to read the entire poem. But basically, let me just read a few verses. It says, last evening, my gut asked me if I was having a hard time being caught between my heart and my head. I nodded. I said I didn't know if I could live with either of them anymore. My heart is always sad about something that happened yesterday, while my head is always worried about something that may happen tomorrow, I lamented. My gut squeezed my hand. I just can't live with my mistakes of the past or my anxiety about the future, I sighed. In that case, my gut smiled and said, you should go stay with your lungs for a while. I was confused. The look on my face gave it away. My gut said, if you're exhausted about your heart's obsession with the fixed past and your mind's focus on the uncertain future, your lungs are the perfect place for you. There's no yesterday in your lungs. There's no tomorrow there either. There's only now. There's only inhale. There's only exhale. There's only this moment. There's only breath. And in that breath, you can rest while your heart and your head work out their relationship. This morning, while my brain was busy reading tea leaves and while my heart was staring at old photographs, I packed a little bag and walked to the door of my lungs. Before I could even knock, she opened the door with a smile. As a gust of air embraced me, she said, what took you so long? It's cute. I can so relate to the experience of being caught in worrying about the future and rehashing the past. And, in this poem, the breath is really lifted as the anchor point for, coming back to the moment, to the present. And I would add that in my practice, it's also sensations of the body. Right. So like the feeling of my skin, if I can only come into the present moment, then I can create some spaciousness. The present moment of what am I smelling? What am I hearing? What am I seeing? Then I can get out of the square space of my forehead and into the present moment. Sorry, that was a long answer.
That was a beautiful answer, and it was more than cute. It was meaningful and profound. Thank you. It looks like we're having some kind of technical difficulty with the chat. Adi, I don't know if you have any questions that you can.
I think maybe we should announce that if you have any questions, you can send them directly to Adi, and he will verbalize them for us.
Yeah, I put in the chat earlier. I'm sorry, we're having some technical difficulties with the chat. If anyone has any questions, again, please feel free to send them to me directly and I'll repost them in the chat, or any thoughts, please feel free to do that.
One simple question that came to me just now, Marita, is just the name of the author of that poem.
Oh, John Rodell. It's and it's also in the chat. I think in one of the first. There's a PDF. He has another poem where he's speaking. I added 2 poems just because I love poetry, and in fact I recently found these poems because my son who's 15 is taking a poetry class right now, and it's just such pleasure to see poems through the eyes of a young person. Like mind blown, like people speak this way, and this was one that he really liked and really touched him, so I thought I'd share it with everyone.
A question I'm wondering about, Marita, and you might have experience with this as a hospital chaplain.
Yeah.
If we want to open ourselves to being embodied and feeling our senses, how do we manage pain?
Oh yeah, that's such a good question. I'm so glad you asked. It's it's really a lifelong practice to allow, sort of like radical allowance of the body and gratitude to the body, right? Like sometimes if I can give my body gratitude for feeling what it's feeling, and bring and essentially be in relationship with my body and know that my body is sending messaging and signals and is trying to communicate with me in the best way that it can. And what it really needs is compassion and nurture. And sometimes it's really hard to stay with the presence of pain, right? And I play with it, right? Like I play with it, and I notice the shifting quality, the shifting energies of pain. Sometimes what I notice is that my fear about the pain or my anxiety about the pain is actually causing more harm than good. And that's what I'm feeling and experiencing. And if I can simply work on being open and lowering my anxiety and fear, then I can work with the pain in a more productive way. And then there are times when I can't, and it's a practice. It's a practice. And I think that in practicing it, you come to the edge of what is bearable, and then you back up. You don't have to go all the way. You don't have to be miserable, right? So the idea is that we invite all of our experience, the entirety of our experience, and that which we resist persists, right? So that's sort of like a common teaching, that the things that we resist actually end up amplifying, and the things that we allow, the sensations, the experiences that we open into, might actually dissipate. And we can notice the shifting nature of our experience in the same way that there's a shifting nature of sound and the shifting nature of taste and smell. There's also a shifting nature and sensations of pain. So it's being open to the possibility of staying present long enough to notice those shifts. And like I said, there are times when it isn't possible, and just giving yourself the grace and the forgiveness and the nurture in whatever way, whether it's through, like I actually live with a child who has AMPS. It's a chronic pain syndrome. And so sometimes the best thing we can do is get distracted, and like not think about the pain. So it's a practice. It's a practice.
Thank you for that really thoughtful answer. And thank you so much for leading us in practice today.
Of course.
And thank
You're
you
welcome.
everyone for joining us. I hope you have a blessed day and a meaningful holiday. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. Be well. Hag Sameach, everyone. Bye-bye.